Thank you very much, Rabbi Weiss. First of all, beautiful words earlier. And it really is a privilege to serve after you and your family, Rabbi Stashke. Big schus for us and Miriam, me and Miriam. So I don't know if this was planned or not. I don't know if when it was being planned, Stephen, Michael, Hanita, staff, Weiss family. I don't know if when it was being planned you knew what parsha would fall out in. But according to many, the biblical source for a Seudah Hodah, which means a Seudah, the meal which we have in Thanksgiving. It's a Thanksgiving meal to Hashem. The biblical source is located in Parshas Vayera. It's located in Parshas Vayera. What's the story? He knew it. What's the story? The story is after Avram and Sarah couldn't have children. So Avram makes a mishta. He makes a Seudah. He makes a party, a mishta gadol, a big party. The Yom Higamelas Yitzchak, after Yitzchak is weaned. So an appreciation of having Yitzchak, a celebration of that miracle. So Abraham celebrates that enormous bracha, that miracle, literally, that Sarah was unable to have children beforehand, and now she was able to have children. She does it through making a party, inviting all of her friends, and that is the way in which they celebrate. That's the source, the biblical source for Seudah Hodah, for a Thanksgiving meal. So that is particularly appropriate that this week we're celebrating. I don't know if you realize the Hashgacha Pratis is involved in doing it this week, but it's remarkable that tonight we're all celebrating a Thanksgiving meal for 5 years, which is a milestone. It's being celebrated for Yitzchak. It wasn't the day he was born, but it was a milestone. It was 2 years. It was the Yom Higamelas Yitzchak. It was a milestone in Yitzchak's life. That was when they celebrated, and that's what we're celebrating tonight as well. So it's a really big privilege tonight for me to be here with everyone. Especially, thank you so much for waiting for me to come back and scheduling around my schedule. When we came back from Israel. And it's a privilege to celebrate with you tonight on this auspicious parsha, which is specifically connected to the idea of a Seudah Hodah, of a Thanksgiving meal. But with that in mind, I'd like to talk for a brief moment about the concept of a Seudah Hodah, of a Thanksgiving meal, a day in which we celebrate all the good that God has given us. So I just came back from Israel. As Mike mentioned, that gave me a lot of time to think about how long a speech I'm going to give on the airplane. But, the trip was remarkable that we took. It was remarkable. There were a lot of very moving and powerful things that we did. But the first thing that they did was they took us to the Givati Brigade at 188 in the north of Israel. And they acknowledged the soldiers, and they thanked the soldiers who make the sacrifices that all of us Americans who go to visit Israel should be able to be there safely and securely, and we should be able to go to the Kotel and be able to go shopping and be able to do all the other things tourists do when they're in Israel, is only a result of the sacrifice and the dedication and the bravery of the young 20-year-old, 19-year-old soldiers who are literally Moser Nefesh on the front line every day to save literally minutes from Syria and from ISIS, who are there to protect us. And we went there, and what we did was, we heard about them, we heard about their sacrifices, but then we thanked them. And the reason why we started the trip with thanking the soldiers is to impress this message upon all of us who were there. That don't take your time in Israel for granted. Remember that while you're there, it's because of these people that allow you to go through the daily, everyday life and appreciate the blessings and the beauty and the spirituality that Israel has. It's only a product of these people's sacrifice. And that's how we began our trip. We began our trip by thanking soldiers. And it was such a powerful moment. And I think this very much speaks to the concept of Hodah, of being thankful. There are a lot of ideas when we think about a Seudah Hodah. A lot of ideas that are involved in the notion of thankfulness. But one idea, I think it's based on the Ramban, who explains that when we thank God, when we acknowledge God for something miraculous He does for us, for something that's beyond ordinary, that's something that's extra statistical, as something that doesn't fall within the normal rubric of everyday life. When we can acknowledge and recognize God's hand in those things, that reminds us that it's not only that thing, it's not only that miraculous event, but it's all the little things that we go through. So it's not only when the Israeli soldiers are fighting that war on the front lines, but it's the everyday things that we do while we're there. That's what we're appreciative for. It's not just the miraculous victory in a 6-day war. It's not just the willingness to sacrifice in Gaza on the front lines. But it's everything we have is a product, all the little things, all the hidden things, all the nisim hanistaros, as the Ramban says. We appreciate more when we recognize the nisim hagluyim, the revealed miracles which we have. When we can recognize, when we can see God's hand in the big things, in the special things, in the extraordinary things, then we can even see God's hands in the ordinary things. Even in the everyday life, even where things seem to be concealed, even where things seem to be less obvious. That's the notion of a nes, the notion of a miracle, is that it literally illuminates the non-miracles, as if to remind us that there is no such thing as a non-miracle. Every non-miracle is in fact a miracle. And that's the notion of a nes, because there is no such thing as a non-miracle. A nes, the purpose of a miracle is to illuminate life, and to illuminate everyday life, and to illuminate mundane life. But there is no such thing as everyday, and there is no such thing as mundane. That's the Ramban understands the concept of miracles. And when we publicly come together to thank God for doing something miraculous, then we're inviting God into every aspect of our lives, into every detail, into everything that's normal and ordinary, as if to say, it's not so normal, it's not so ordinary. Ramban says in this week's parsha, when he's describing why Avraham Avinu made, at least in the context of this pasuk, why Avraham Avinu made the Seudah, made the special party, the Mishteh, on the day he weaned Yitzchak, the Ramban says, to fill his mouth with rejoicing, b'schok, b'pele, with the wonder, hanaselo, that was done to him. Everyone was a doubter, everyone was a naysayer. You can't have a kid, you're 100 years old, you're 99 years old, it's impossible. So Avram makes this meal in our parsha, this party, and he invites the Gedolim, Rashi says, the greatest people of the generation to celebrate with him, to remind them, God is involved in everything. There is no such thing as normal. And we could see it here. We could see it here in a miracle. You know, it has been, as was described earlier, a very difficult 5 years for a lot of people, for the Weiss family, for the Stavsky family, for our community. I have to tell you, Michael and Chanita's resiliency, their strength, their emunah, has been truly, truly remarkable. It's really been beyond anything that's normal. Right? Even that we're coming together tonight to celebrate the Seudah Hodah at a milestone recovery, is something they're doing it to celebrate Hashem, as was said earlier. They're doing it in order to give a thanksgiving to Hashem for enabling them to come this far. I mean, that's a remarkable, remarkable thing. You know, Mike and Chanita have taught us so much throughout this process. They've taught us the classic, the fundamental core Jewish ideas, that everything in life operates on two tracks. Everything in life operates on the physical track and on the spiritual track. And we saw Michael and Chanita be literally Moser Nefesh on a physical level, go to every doctor and leave no stone unturned, and go, no matter how much it took, and no matter what expense, and no matter how far the travel, and no matter how difficult the journey, we were going to do it, and we were going to make it happen, where other people may have gone up after getting 3 different opinions. But also on the spiritual level, to go to Eretz Yisrael, and to get brachas from Gedolim, and to get, and to do the different things that they did, and to daven, and the Tehillim, and the people coming together. That's Judaism. That is the essence of how a Jew deals with adversity and everything in life, really. They've been remarkable role models of how to tackle a problem with not only in what to do, but how to do it with positivity. Michael always says, Baruch Hashem. How are you doing, Baruch Hashem? Right, Baruch Hashem. That's how a Jew answers such a question. Baruch Hashem. Right, it's always with a positivity, and it's always with a chen, it's always with an emunah, a level of faith in God, that this is what Hashem has ordained, and this is what we're going to do, and this is our hand, and we're Ovdei Hashem, we're servants of God, and this is how we're going to come closer to Hashem, and that's what we've heard tonight. And that's what this night is an evening of celebration of. It's an evening of celebration of the recognition of God's hand in our lives. It's an evening of recognition that Hashem does miraculous things, that there is such a thing called Ein Mazel Yisrael, that there is such a thing called, we're not bound by statistics. We're not bound by Googling what the prospects of such a diagnosis are. Ein Mazel Yisrael. Jews transcend that. Jews have a relationship with God. And when you have a relationship with God, it's not a matter of odds. It's not a matter of statistics. It's not a matter of Googling numbers. And that's a lesson. That's a lesson of the truly remarkable role models Michael and Chanita have been of what emunah really means, what it is to be a Jew. Really, what it is to be a Jew. This is what it means to be a Jew. To realize that your life, everyone's life, is in the hands of Hashem, and that when Hashem performs a miracle for us, and that you defy those odds, and that Ein Mazel Yisrael realizes itself, and it becomes a reality. That's something to celebrate together as a community, such that all of our emunah should be uplifted in all aspects. Not just in this aspect, not just for one person, not just for one family, but for all of us, for all the families, for all the community, that we're Jews and we have a relationship with God, and we're not bound by this stuff. Our job is to do our job. Our job is to do the spiritual track and to do the physical track. To do our greatest hishtadlus, to do our greatest work and service and do what we need to do, but also to pray and also to connect to God spiritually. That is the lesson of what Judaism is at its core. This is the essence of Judaism. And Michael and Chanita have been tremendous role models for us in how to handle that. They've done it with dignity and with honor and with positivity, which can be so difficult at times, but they've done it. And their family have been literally Moser Nefesh. Police come in so many times, and the families come in so many times to help to be with them through this process. And it's something that's inspired all of us. Rav Tzadok writes in a place that sometimes the reason why Hashem brings a tzara on a person, only Rav Tzadok could say this, I couldn't say this, but sometimes the reason why Hashem could bring the pain on a person is so that he should inspire others, as was mentioned earlier. That they become a walking Kiddush Hashem. They become people who symbolize what it means to believe in God, and it's remarkable. And it is a Kiddush Hashem, something that we have all, I personally, and all of us have learned from and should continue to learn from. So our bracha is that we should have continued health for all of us, on Mea Ve'esrim until 120 years. We should all be zocha to dance at many more smachos in the future.
Amen. Amen.